Hey y'all, this is Cindy. I'm the Tireless Tangler. I want to welcome you back to my channel. Today I have a fun project to do that is sort of in support of Ukraine and their recent victories on the battlefield, and just letting the Ukrainians know that we are still thinking about them and praying for them and hoping that everything's going to be okay. So what I've been doing lately is I've been looking at that symbol on the Ukrainian flag and wondering what would happen if I used it as a string. So I did, and this is what I came up with. Several versions of this. I do plan to use some watercolor today, so if you want to get a blue and a yellow pencil out, or watercolors or whatever you want to use, that is great. Other than that, I'll be using a Micron pen and a pencil, and that's pretty much it. All right, let's get started. So on the screen, I am showing you a picture of this Ukrainian symbol, and I guess you can't really see this very well. But I'm going to show you how to draw this string, but this is basically what the string looks like in pencil. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I've seen lots of stylized versions of this, so we're gonna do it, and it's not very hard. It's not very hard at all, actually. So to begin with on this, I am going to, and by the way, I am wearing my Ukrainian nails. These were Coda's idea. We should have some Ukrainian vibes going on with the nails too. Smart kid. All right, so to begin with, now most of you are used to putting a dot in each corner. I'm not going to do a dot because I tend to get even wackier lines. And I'm going to leave a little extra room between the outer edge, and I'm falling all over the place here, between the outer edge and the border line. And you want to keep it pretty straightish. There we go. So straightish, right? All right. So now what I want you to do is put a midpoint mark on each one of these sides, just about halfway across. And I'm going to go ahead from top to bottom and draw a penciled line right on through that. Get this over a little bit. All right, and then on this other side. Okay, so this is going to be my up and down, my vertical, and it doesn't matter which side you choose for that, just choose one. It's going to be fine. Okay, so I'm going to now pencil in the middle section of this that goes along this line, and what we're going to do is we're going to do two pointy ovals. All right, so I'm going to start where I crossed the border line here, up about here, and just do a pointy oval like this, okay? And then right here, down here around the midpoint mark, I'm going to do another one that goes down here. Trying to get these even. It's not so easy. Okay, so two pointy ovals with a center line drawn through them. All right. Now, on this other side, on the other two sides, what we're going to do is sort of like a cursive R and then mirror it. So the top of that cursive R, so I'm going to come from here. We're just going to do this kind of a thing, right? Now, in some of these, they do this kind of a little embellishment, and you can do whatever you want there. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to keep it simple. So I'm going to mirror that over here. All right. And then for the bottom part of that capital R, we're going to dip down and then come over and dip down again along this center line. Okay, so we're going to just mirror that. That's not quite a mirror, is it? And again, I say to myself, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, just something similar. All right, okay, so that's it. We're done. Let's go home. I'm just kidding. All right, this is our string for today. Now I am going to switch to my PN. All right, Zinders will catch up at the end. Let's get started with this. All right. The first thing I'm going to do, I think, is start now again, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I'm going to make this kind of a thick line, not too thick, but just a little bit. This symbol is based on Poseidon, or the Trident. Boy, I went off on that. Straight and Cindy are really not the two things that go together. Just going to go with the curves, or the random lines. I'm just going to thicken this, go over it a few times. And hopefully anything that gets out of hand we can work on in post-production. That's what I call it when I fix things at the very end. All right. There. It's not too bad. Okay. Now, I'm going to draw in this little guy up here. Try to sort of do this edge, just sort of soften so there's not a, you know, a sharp division there, but you don't have to. As always, guys, your art, you decide what you want it to look like, okay? Now, I think I am going to ink this in. You guys, I've done several versions of this where you can do little lines in there and stripe them, make them sort of C shapes so that they give this a little dimension. You can black it in, which is probably what I'm going to do, or you could stripe it. There's lots of different things that you could do. Actually, do I want to try that? Let's stripe it and see what happens. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this. Now, sparkling something is just when you add a little blank spot to what would otherwise be an inked line. And it's really a great way of adding dimension to something that would just be flat ink otherwise. So you can sparkle either with a sharp edge or with these little feathered spots. It tends to look more organic with the little flicks on there. Don't start, River. No, puppy. No. No, no, no.
River.
No.
River, come here. Out. Out, River. Out. Out.
Okay. Now I probably will take my pencil line from the center of that out, simply because it will be in the middle of a highlighted area, and I'm not going to want graphite on my highlight, so that's the reason. Now, I think I'm going to add some little zinger things, but I'm going to make them pointy on the end. And I'm just going to put a little C shape on one side of that, and then put a little S shape on the other side of that. And then I'll get my little point, or you can make them like regular, I said zinger, I don't mean zinger, I mean fescue. And you can just make them like regular fescue with the rounded tops and then put a little point on them. That works too. I just tend to do mine like this. Whoops. All right. Okay. I hope everybody is doing okay. It's a tough world right now. It's a tough world. But I have some hope. All right, let's put a couple more here. Well, that's weird. Do things like you're gonna do them. Don't do them like I do them. That's just weird. Sure, why not? Well, they are very leafy, aren't they? Okay. All right. Let's put another one this way. If I don't think about it, they turn out okay. If I do think about them, not so much. All right, now, and maybe one more. I'm gonna wait and decide that later. Okay, so now I think I'm going to come down here and do these two sections. And so I'm going to go ahead and block these off. We will end up outlining all of this, and if you want to do that to begin with, you can. I just tend not to because of the way I was trained to deal with strings, but you certainly, in this instance, I'm going to use outlines on all of what I'm doing. So when you wouldn't want to do that is when you want to merge an area through a string from one section to another, and you don't want there to be a stark division, but in this case I do want there to be a stark division. So I think I'm going to go ahead and, is that right, puppy? Are you talking? Talk to your brother. If you're hungry, talk to your brother. Okay. So this is what we have so far, and then the last thing will be to do this border line through. And up. See, he's talking to you, bud. Don't ignore him.
He just moved out of my reach.
He wants you to feed him, hun.
Oh, it's feeding time?
Yes, I said when they started making noise to feed them. Okay, so the last thing I would do is wait on these two sections before you decide what you're going to do as far as the outlining goes. Because if you want to put a flower or something like that in here, then you're going to need one kind of edge. And if you want to put something else in there, you're going to want something different, okay? So what I'm going to do next is the Tangle Well, W-E-L-L. It's a Zentangle original tangle, although all of the tangles are you know, ancient patterns that have been around for a long time. So it's puppy supper time for the dogs. We had to take a quick break. All right, so with well, you start with a little dot in the center of your area. This is a good tangle for both triangles and squares, or square-ish areas, as this is. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a little S shape that takes off from the center and ends up in a corner. Okay, so it takes off from the center and ends up in a corner. Okay, takes off from the center and lands in the corner. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Maybe not that curvy. I get a little nuts sometimes. There, okay. So now I am going to use just some simple lines on here, some aura lines. And what I'm going to do is find one of these lines to the corner. Okay, and I'm just going to, let's see. So there's a trick to this. Let me figure out how I can explain it to you. I always seem to know where it is, but explaining it is something else. So what you want to do when you're doing this is you want to follow one of these lines to the corner, okay? And you can see that right here it's not so easy to do that, right? So here would be where we would start that. Just like we did from starting at the center and coming out to the corner, we want to start at that same point and just make some thin aura lines. And I'm going to leave a little sparkle in mine. You don't have to do that, but take your time. If you end up with a big gap, you can put a little dot in there. That's always helpful for me. But you don't have to. You want to try to keep them in approximately the same place. But if you're too picky with it, then it ends up looking funny. So just, you know. So something like this, and it doesn't have to be perfect, right? The key here is to change your tile 90 degrees and then follow the next thing to the curve. If you don't do that, then there's the tendency to just keep going here, and then you're going to end up with a big section instead of 4 little ones, okay? So you want to turn your tile 90 degrees and then follow that line from the center to the corner. And you can make these lines further apart, you can make them closer together, but the goal is to keep them consistent with each other as far as the spacing goes. Okay. And see how I left my little gaps right along the same area, so it doesn't look too incongruous as far as your light goes. Okay, so again, I've turned my tile and I'm going to come down and follow this section from the center to the corner. I'm just leaving a tiny little gap there. And when it's too small, just go on. And once again, we turn it. So each one of these 4 sections, we're going to turn our tile 90 degrees, start at the center, and move out to the corner along with the line that you previously drew into the corner. I'm having some issues here, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't have issues, would I? I have lost most of my muscle memory that I had worked up last year? It's been almost a year since I've been on here. All right, so again, I'm going to find a section and I'm going to follow from the center to the corner. All right. Now you could stripe these, and there are tons and tons of well fills that you can do. If you have a Zentangle primer, which by the way you can get for $9.99 in the US online in the Kindle shop, you know, you can go to the back of that and they have triangular fills that are perfect for filling well with. And you can just choose one. But I liked this one, so this is the one I decided to stick with for me. Is there any turkey left?
Yeah.
But it's almost gone, right?
You still got about like 2 good plates, maybe 3.
All right. Last one, starting at the center and moving out. If you can't figure out where to logically put your sparkles, just choose a spot and put them all in the same place. They may or may not work for you, but you know, experience is a good teacher. All right, Mar, recording. All right. Still recording.
He's licking
It's trying to get your food. He's a rotten dog. All right, now for this section, I have done a couple of different tries on this. I have done one where I've sort of striped in sections, and I've put some crescent moon. Let me find one like that. Well, here's an example where I striped them and put different things in. That works. Let's see if I've got the other example I had. I've also done flowers like these. You could point them, you could round them. It's basically henna drum with different tops, right? So here's another couple where I did crescent moon and other just little different fills. Yeah. So really you can choose whatever you like and go with that. And the question is, what am I going to do? So I think I'm going to do flowers this time. So I'm going to do a little C shape and aura that. All right. See if I can get these across from each other approximately. No promises. That was a little wider. It's still going to be fine. All right. So I handle henna drum, and I'm not going to do henna drum exactly. I'm going to do like the rounded tops. But what I do is I make my first petal separations like this. Then I decide where all of my subsequent petals are going to go. My problem is always getting them the same length. And then I'm going to just, well, that wasn't very good. Put a little pointy end on them like that. And I am going to let this go over right there, which is why I didn't draw that end or that edge in, okay? And so I'm going to do the same thing over here, hopefully a little bit neater. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna continue my henna drum vibe, and I'm gonna put these little flower flicks in here. So you start putting your pen down, and then you lift it as you go out. And depending on how much depth you want to have, you can put, you know, several. I have struggles with the flicking because my hand sometimes wants to go a different way, but that's okay. Okay. It's hard to always get them pointing the same direction, at least for me. Some of you are really good. Goodness, some of you are good at this. Some of us struggle. All right. You can put fewer, you can put more, whatever you want to do. Okay, and I kind of like that. Fill in a couple of gaps. All right. I do like a little depth down there. I think that's pretty cool. So let's do some over here. I like to make them different lengths. But this is me, and I tend to go more than rather than less. So again, let your creativity be your guide. Puppy, what are you doing? Get out of my stuff. Puppy. Tangle, what has he got? Did he get something out of the trash?
Yeah.
You just set it back up on the dog food again. Rotten dog. Why do you have to be so rotten? Can you set the trash back up on the... Thank you. Thank you. Makes it less easy for him to get in there. All right. Just a few more. Sorry, I'm freaking out because I think the dog is getting into my art supplies, and that makes me cranky. He has chewed up so many things in the last year and a half. However old he is. Older than he should be, that's what I say. All right. So that's what I'm going to do with these for now. And I kind of like the way those turned out, although they're a little misshapen, but then most flowers are, just a little bit. So here, I did the striping here, and I think I'm going to stripe these sections here, but going, of course, in opposite directions. So let's see what I can come up with. Well, it's a little sad, but there you are. It's still going to be fine. They always end up pointing another direction. Yeah, it'll be fine. All right, so I'm going to put some stripes and sparkles just like I did up here. And let's see where we end up. Well, it's going to be fine. I'll tell you what I tell myself all the time is try not to judge. Try really hard not to prejudge your outcome. Frequently, when you stick with a tile, even if you think it's hopeless, you can't save it, it's terrible, if you will finish it, you will find it's not so bad. I have really overshot my highlight up here. You know, and we got the jelly roll for extreme emergencies. Try not to let that be your go-to, though. It's easy to do, as I well know. I guess the point is to come to a point of acceptance for whatever ends up on the page. And that is a very hard place to get to for those of us who are trying to reform our perfectionism, which I am. See, I'm just going to have to put a couple of lighter strokes up there with the jelly roll, and that'll be fine. All right. And we'll leave that right there for now. So, Zenders, how are my girls and boys in the Zender Club? I hear you guys are steadily growing our tight-knit Facebook group, where we get to know each other. Of course, you guys are much better at that than I am. You guys know how I am about Facebook and social media in general. But it is good to be in touch with people with like minds and creative hearts and warm spirits. That's something you always get from Tanglers, I find. It just tends to attract that kind of a person. Typically. Not always. I think we had one grumpy Gus in my CZT class, but other than that, everybody was pretty awesome. And I'm not saying she wasn't awesome. She was just a little bit grumpy. Oh, thank goodness Simba's outside. Because when River gets going, holy cow, there is no stopping her without snarling and gnashing of teeth. All right. So not perfect, but still okay, right? Okay, we're going to add shading in here, so it's not going to be a big deal. All right. Now, I'm going to do sort of a... Maria Thomas does this. It's not really Sana. It's more like a peppermint swirl, but she just kind of draws things in sort of curvy, like with well, but so it's sort of Sana-like, but then she like puts some little line weight down. And I like the way these sort of swirl into the center or feel like they do. Not my best work, but I'm okay with it. All right. And so I'm going to do something. Oops. Well, dadgummit. All right. And then I think I'll go the opposite direction on these. Well, there's the opposite direction and then the opposite direction. This is the kind of thing you could use a 0-1 for. It's quite a bit more delicate than a pen is meant to do. Okay. All right, close enough. So it's interesting. It'll be fun with shading. And so right here in these sections, I want to do something, again, pretty simple with striping. And I'm going to put a half circle or a C shape right across there. And I'm going to aura that, hopefully thinly. River, chill out. Then I'm going to divide each side up into pie shapes. And then we're going to stripe it, okay? So some Knightsbridge. And then okay. Here. I think I'll still leave that for now. All right, so this last section here, I'm just going to put some thin radiating lines in here, sort of like sunshine rays. Well, and I'm going to fill in here. I'm just going to put a few spaced apart to begin with. Then I'm going to come back in and draw some more, and I am barely putting any weight here. The goal here is to put a little bit of depth towards this inked part down here, and a little lighter up towards the edge. Because then we're going to shade down here and add even more. So, like that. And the reason I put some in pointing the directions I want to begin with is so that I get my directions straight overall. And then I can add my sort of wiggly, wavy lines that I put in here that are just really lightweight, and at least that's my goal, is to have them lightweight. And then you can just add some little short ones along the base. I'm really having trouble with my hand shaking today, so it's making it a little frustrating, but I'm going to be all right. Okay, guys. Now, the question is, do I want to add a couple more small fescue? Pointy fescue. And I need one going the other direction over here. Okay. That's maybe two more than I wanted, but it's all right. It's all right. Okay. So, a couple of things now before I get started with shading. All right, so any stray pencil lines right now I'm going to remove simply because they get in the way of watercolor and watercolor and shading. So about a month ago when I was going to get started making videos again, I was really needing to get my nails done, and I really couldn't afford it. And so I got a kit off of Amazon and started learning to do my own. And it has been a lot of fun. It's basically tiny art, which, you know, I'm pretty much good with. And the only problem is you have to be able to do it on both hands. So it's been a joy and a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot. But I almost can never get away without blinging out each and every finger, which gets to be too much. So forgive me in advance for all the gaudiness. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, but no promises. It's an art project to do an art project, and that's okay with me. All right, so not perfect, but lots of fun. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a very, very light midpoint line where I'm going to want my colors to divide on the flag colors. I'm going to, now there's a number of different ways that you can address the color thing. You can leave it off. You can add it like I'm going to do in the background in the colors of the flag, of the blue and the gold or yellow on the bottom. Or you could use those colors like on the flowers or on the individual elements, use them for shading or things like that. So there are a number of different things that you can do here. I was going to put mine in the background. Now I'm thinking about that again, but I don't know. Let's shade and see what we come up with. Now the easy part of shading is to go where all of the spots where you have lots of lines. That is just going to be a natural shading point. You got all those lines coming together. It's just going to naturally look darker, so that's just a... Well, Cindy, goodness. And this is why you want this very cute little Tombow Mono Zero eraser, because it gets into all the tiny spots. There. Don't scrub too much, though. Gotta make sure this is clean. These big ones I tend to use a lot with my blending solution for colored pencils, so. And when you have nice big sections like this, with where you have lots of area that you can shade, there's lots more that you can do. You can do as much or as little shading as you want to on these. I'm just going to put a little graphite on the tips of my flowers here, just a tiny bit. The little points. Remember, if I get it off, then I have my little Mono Zero that I can clean up with. Let's see how this turns out. Well, I need a little mono something for this. Now, this is why I use an F pencil, because I tend to get graphite heavy on these things, but when you need to lighten up your highlights, you just come through. And if you're looking for knot streaks, then try going in little circles. Okay, another spot right here. What is he eating?
Come here. Come here. Come here.
Is it something important?
No.
Okay. All right. And the main thing is you just don't want sharp lines. You want to be as smooth as possible. There, that's not bad. So one thing I did forget. See that? No one will know. I'm just going to put some little stipple dots along the bottom and one side of this. Stippling is simply placing a little dot. Very difficult for me. And the way you get shadow and light is by the amount of dots you put into an area. So if you want it to look more dense and shadowed, put more dots in. Like that, and you want to come as straight down as possible so that you have as clean a little dot as you can get. Just, well, I guess you can't see what I'm doing. I'm coming, back my thumb up from that, just straight down.
What do you want?
There. How about that? Okay. And then we add a little graphite in there in that section, and we're good to go. Okay. Let's start over here. So make sure that ink dries. Put a little graphite in there, and then you have something going on. So here, we're going to want to darken the areas around the highlighted area. And by doing this, then we're giving the impression that these side areas are rounded just like the sparkled ones are. And you'll notice I didn't put the graphite directly over the ink because I try to avoid that because of the shininess that you get. I'm using this Mono Zero a lot today, but the highlights are half the fun. Okay, now I'm throwing stuff. All right, Just add a little bit on the tips again. Okay. All right. I'm a blend as I go girl, so you'll have to forgive me for that. And I am barely touching this tile with my tortillon. I am just barely moving that graphite around. All right. Oh, and I never did blend this part. Again, I'm just using little circles on here. It'll stop you from having as many streaks. And of course, this tortillon is ginormous. There. All right, a couple more spots and we will be done with this part. So for well, once again, everywhere you have the little lines coming out, this is where you're going to shade. On the opposite side of where you follow the lines, where the lines come out, that's where you're going to want your graphite. And this I find to be true on most things. Where the lines are coming out, that's where you want to shade. Try to get on the line, but not over the line. All right, and I think I'm gonna make these a little pillowy by putting just a tiny bit of graphite around the edge of this section. Well, that one's got plenty because that's where I have my string line. All right. Let's see how much depth that gives. Just a little bit of shading. There. All right. I keep checking to make sure the video camera is on because I have done this video now 4 times. And no matter what I do, something goes wrong. All right. And then I'm going to put just a tiny bit of graphite around the center of these. I probably don't even need to add any to my tortillon since I can do that without adding anything extra. So right around here where all of these lines are coming in. Mara, please don't ignore Simba.
I'm not.
I've still got to fix this, don't I? All right.
Okay, Simba.
Okay. All right. Let's finish this up. Okay. Simba. Mar,
Simba. What?
I'm trying to work here.
It's not my fault that they're barking that river.
Stop being cute, River.
What? Who just hit their head? Down, Simba. Down. Down.
Okay, now. I am just going to look this over. There are several spots I need to work on as far as highlights go. That's my interesting highlight there. Okay, so I think that's for now at least. I may go over some lines as we clean up, but for now at least, this is where I'm going to stop with the line work, and let's get some color out and see where we end up. So I'm having to voice over this end part. I had a lot of stuff going on and wasn't able to video with voice. So what I'm doing first is I'm erasing almost all of my little line that I drew in pencil across here. And then I'm adding some colored pencil. Now normally I would use my Prismacolor white, for this, but I haven't been able to put my hands on it, and so I'm going to use one of these luminance pencils by Caran d'Ache. And so the reason I'm doing this, and I'm just laying, you can't see it, but I'm just laying down this white pencil. It's oil or wax base like Prismacolor. And so it's going to act as a resist for the watercolor so that I can try to keep my colors out from getting mixed up with each other. So that's the reason I'm doing this. Of course, you don't have to do it. If you have a really nice steady hand with watercolor and you're not too concerned about that, then don't worry about it. But the wax on the pencil acts as a resist to the watercolor, and so if you happen to get something, some opposite color on the wrong side of that, then you can lift it out with your aqua brush really easily because it'll come right off of that wax pencil. Okay, so excuse me. So I am using my Arteza Real Brush Pens, and this is the bright blue. And what makes these different, and I'm starting along that wax, white line that I just put in. And what makes these different than most brush pens is that they have an actual brush bristle on the end instead of one of those sort of magic markery type of nibs. So that's my technical explanation. You'll just have to go with it. I have really come to appreciate these. I have been using them now for about a year, and the colors are quite vibrant. But the thing that really sold me on these brush pens is the spreadability of them. The fact that I can lay in some color in a very haphazard way, like this, and then get my water brush out, my aqua brush, and smooth it out, and it just blends beautifully. And with these, I'm using an original Zentangle tile, which is basically a really, really nice hot press watercolor paper. And so it has that sort of rough tooth to it, which is great. The watercolor just loves it. And so watch how nicely these spread out, and see if you don't agree. Now, for tangling, I will admit I am not a watercolor artist, so that's not what I use them for. I have to say their colors are really beautiful, vibrant, and they blend with each other really well. One of the positive things about how soluble this is with these colors are with water, or the pigments are with water, is that it means that they also blend with each other. The colors will blend with each other. So that makes it a really nice tool to work with. I have found in general, I also have Arteza's 96 count watercolor set. They are liquid watercolors in tubes, and they also are excellent qualities. Again, highly pigmented, and I'm sure they all come from the same place as far as how the pigments and things are put together. So I have yet to try an Arteza product that I was not pleased with. So if you guys are looking for a lower cost alternative, or even the best alternative for some of your needs, then you might take a look at the Arteza brand. I have been glad that I have. So the goal is to lay the color on. Now, if I'm telling you guys all something you already know, just ignore me. But the goal is to lay the color on near the edges, but not at the edges. It's easier to push color into a corner, I think, than, and again, not a watercolor artist. But I find it easier to lay your color down a little bit away and then sort of blend it into the corners so that you have a smoother transition, I guess. But aren't these nice? Look at how smoothly they blend. The streaks will all come out, and it's quite nice a tool. So clearly, I'm being interrupted by the dogs or the boy. I appreciate you guys being willing to have my little aside conversations and have the interruptions with the pets and such. I put them all down for a nap just before I started this, so hopefully they'll be good while we finish up. Mari is doing pretty well. He hates school, as I'm pretty sure most teenage boys do, and is failing math and horribly, and doesn't have a teacher that's paying attention or on the ball or whatever, and you know, so but he's playing in the band, playing trombone, playing well, very well, and other than that, he's a teenage boy with all the opinions and attitudes that go right along with that. And he is not afraid to share with me. But at least he's not one of those kids you can't get to talk to you. If I can get him, if he gets angry enough, he's all about letting me know what he thinks. I haven't decided whether we're going to make it out of the teenage years without in-depth counseling or not. We probably could use it. I have to admit, he is good at pushing my buttons, and I'm too easy to allow him to push the buttons, and it's something that I'm aware of and working on. And man, 13-year-old boys. That's not what a woman in her 60s was meant to be doing, you know. Anyway, so I hope all my Zenders are doing well. All my Carlas and Nancys and Angelas. And all of the other wonderful ones of you. Paulas and, oh my goodness, so many of yous. Annies, you know who you are. No, River. Baby. No, there's nobody there, miss. We're having a nap, remember? We're having a nap. I get distracted. They distract me all the time, and then I forget what I was talking about, and then we're off on something else. So y'all just bear with me. The last year, I don't know exactly what has been going on. I've had some health issues, but they haven't been, well, they have been serious, but not life-threatening serious. I mean, I'm fine. Everything is fine. You know, I think perhaps the war in Ukraine has affected me more than I have realized. The atmosphere in our country has also been really divisive and rough, and that's really not how I roll. I really prefer to get along with everybody. You guys know. But, you know, so we're not going to start in with that. I just want healing. I just want us all to get the help we need mentally, and, you know, to start supporting each other no matter what our opinions are about whatever. Remembering that we're all people, and that we all have to share this planet together, and we all need to figure out how to do that without tearing each other apart. So anyway, that's my preaching for today. This is Bumblebee Yellow, again in the Arteza brush pen. Bright blue and Bumblebee Yellow. It's a really nice sort of sun yellow type of, or golden yellow type of a color. It's a yellow with that has a hint of red in it. Just a hint. Just a hint. Just a hint. Sorry. River is sitting next to me with her head on my lap, and I'm petting her and I realize that I'm talking like I'm talking to her, which apparently I am. She knows. So if you hear some sloppy slurping here in a minute, it'll be her trying to lick my face. Because that's how we roll in it, girl. Yeah, my little chunky monkey. Well, that blue turned out nicely. I mean, I've got some spots I can go over again, but I'm really not too concerned about them, which makes me happy. And look at that nice line I got on the watercolor. That makes me happy. Well, I'm not done yet, so let's not get too excited. I have been having way, way too much fun with nails. Way too much fun. I'm wanting to change them every day, and my poor fingers can't deal. I've already gone through one e-file. It's just, once I get some bling on there, I'm like, okay, let's try something new. I watch another video, and I'm ready to go something else. They have this stuff called blooming gel that you can put on there and then drop colors into and have the colors sort of marble out or well, bloom out. And the possibilities artistically for that stuff are just, yeah. So, and I'm already in the back of my head going, I wonder if I could use that on a tile. You never know. You never know. So, anyway. Lots of fun. So you guys are probably going to see me change those a lot, and I'll probably change one or two at a time. So my nails may never all match, but just know I will be having a whole lot of fun. And I'm not very good at it all yet, so it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve, isn't it, River? She says it's definitely a learning curve. All right. So that color turned out great. I'm actually thrilled. And the yellow is just as smooth as it can be. And that pleases me. I had a couple other tiles that did not turn out so nicely, which is why I tried the colored pencil this time. So now what I'm going to do is go back in with my PN and clean up some of the line work here. There may be like little holes in my inking, little, the little white stars that you get sometimes. So I'm just taking a close-up look at this with my glasses on and trying to fill in any little stars or spots that I may have missed. I forgot to mention earlier, I think, that if the little circle in the middle of your well gets too inky, just black it in and make that little circle inked in. And then, problem solved. Mine looked okay, so I didn't bother to do that, but I forgot to mention it. These are so cool, these little peppermint swirl type of things, if you have enough room for them, but I feel like I didn't do them justice. Yeah, there'll be other tiles. Ooh, that gives me that gives me an idea. Is it a good idea? That I cannot tell. So now I'm going to go over some lines, especially right here. I've got several spots where my lines have gone over the border line, and so I just want to clean up. And then on these flower petals, I'm going to ink and round the edges. Down, River, lie down, good girl. And so anywhere on these borders of the flowers where it's got a little point or comes to a little corner, then I'm just going to round that little edge off. And then add a little ink along the edges of the flower. I'm doing this a lot around where the colors are because when you go over ink with watercolor, it can frequently dull your inked lines a bit. So that's not something you have to do if you don't want to. I'm just, you know, it's that whole perfectionism thing. Still working on it. I just like the sort of deco look that this gives. I don't know. I don't know if it's deco I'm looking for, but I do like it. I just think it gives the flowers a little bit more oomph. Makes them look a little more courageous. Which is how I feel about the Ukrainian people. They are so courageous. Their unwillingness to give in and their desire for their freedom is just it's inspiring is what it is. And I can't fight for them or give them a lot of money, but I can support them in my prayers and thoughts and in this small way. And this turned out to be a fun idea, I think. I didn't see anything else like it. I did a quick search on it. And I saw there was I think, a CZT in Canada or in British Columbia, Deb Bauer, I think, or Brower. I think it's Bauer. And she did a Ukraine related tile and used the hashtag Tangles for Ukraine. I did not contact her and ask her about using that same hashtag. So, you know, we can just tag this. I don't know. What do you guys think? Well, Tangles for Ukraine kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Well, I guess we can use that, and then if it on Instagram, if it happens to go somewhere, then it'll be a fun collection of art, won't it? It'll all be definitely Ukraine related art. So at Thanksgiving, I was trying to come up with I was asking my niece and her husband what a good, because they're young, what a good name for this or title for this video would be, and her husband said, "How about Ukraingle?" So I couldn't help but put it on the thumbnail because that made me smile. It was cute, but yeah. So at this point, we are just doing finishing touches, just filling in the little white stars, making sure I've got a good enough laydown of ink, crisping up any edges that I may have faded out a little bit with watercolor. I tried, you may not, I don't know if you noticed, but I tried not to get a lot of watercolor on the ink because I'm going to have to clean it off here in a minute when I do my last touch on this. I'm going to put some white jelly roll on for highlights on my fescue or fescue-ish stuff here, just to sort of perk that middle up light-wise. I think that'll work well. Oh, we're adding the chop. Yes, we're adding the chop, River. Yes, and we're getting sugar from River. Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we're adding the chop. Yes. Yes. So for those who are new and who actually made it this far, congratulations. And a chop is just your artist's mark. It comes from a Korean practice of making sort of a, well, I'm not very good at explaining it and my brain's going to implode, but there is a cool article about chops on Zentangle.com. You guys should go and check them out. They are the givers of all good things at Zentangle. And I love my Maria and Rick. And Molly. And Julie. I'm forgetting a daughter. It'll come to me in a second. It's an M. I know that. I talk to her all the time. Okay. I don't know. It's gone. Molly and... Oh my goodness. Now this is going to drive me nuts. Okay. So let's distract me and see if it'll come to me later. So what I'm doing now is Martha. Ha! I knew it. Martha. See? There you go. What I'm doing now is I'm putting some clear water on the surface of my little fescues, pointy fescues. And the reason that I'm doing this is because jelly rolls are water soluble, as you probably know. And since I have been going over these with blue paint, then there's a high likelihood that I'm going to have some blue watercolor on those fescues. And so if I add a wet jelly roll to that, which I plan to, then what I'm going to end up with are blue highlights. So, you know, not optimal for brightening something up. And so that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to remove any residual color that I may have left on these little fescue sections so that I don't get any color bleed through on my jelly roll. And if this seems a little ultra picky, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. Okay, I'll stop. All right. As always, I want you guys to remember to sign and date your tiles if you do nothing else. Now, a lot of people are grateful to themselves if they will hashtag their patterns that they use, so that when you go back years later, you're looking at the, oh, I love that pattern. What's that called? That happens to me all the time. And so, and I'm a CZT. So if that tells you anything, there are too many patterns to remember them all. And it really does help if you can notate those on the backs of your tiles. But again, you don't have to. But signing and dating them, that's important for your artistic walk, for the journal of your artistic walk, if you will. All right, Tangles for Ukraine. And now I'm about to remember that I forgot the jelly roll. Let me thank everybody for being here with me and spending some time with me today. I really, really appreciate your time. And I hope that you have had some fun, and we've done something a little bit unique and something in support of our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. And in hoping that the people of this world can be in some way healed by our small acts of kindness and artistic expression. So, with that said, the dogs are ready to fight, so I am going to sign off, and I will see you guys soon.